This was a highly requested video. Only by one person, but my channel is so small, one request is highly requested right now. But I am happy to oblige. Because this movie is pretty new, it's only available, I thought, in theaters, but apparently it's also on Disney+. Which I didn't find out until my neat ass went out and purchased a ticket at my local theater, watched it in all my social anxiety, went home and Googled it. Anyway, because I watched this in a movie theater, I couldn't write down my thoughts, so I'm going off the dome for this. Sorry in advance if my thoughts are jumbled and scattered. I wrote down some notes and will record this sometime during the weekend. So it might be even worse after sitting with the movie for a while because I have bad memory. Also, this will definitely have light spoilers. Much like any good sequel, they've updated the mechanics from the original. This new update is a belief system. The belief system is explained as a culmination of Riley's memories and actions and everything she's done up until now, she's 13 now, that allow her to be who she is. And the way they've decided to depict this is absolutely visually stunning. Like, it's generally one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in a movie. Like, it's like this deep sort of well, and I saw that and was immediately intrigued. Like, I saw that and was like, oh, okay, I'm in for quite a ride. And speaking of visuals, this movie is a testament to how far technology has come compared to 2015. Like, everywhere you look in this movie is visually just amazing. And I know I'm going to talk about the visuals quite a lot, and I'm sorry already. It's just, when you look at this movie compared to the 2015 version, you just see a stark difference in a good way. Like, I love animation so much from the bottom of my heart, and I want to see it continue to just become this bigger and better thing as the technology grows. I definitely found this movie a lot more pleasant than the original. Riley has been living in San Francisco probably about 2 years now, and you can definitely see that she is coming into herself and becoming more comfortable and confident in who she is. And she's definitely making a place for herself in the world. In the original, I found Riley to be kind of annoying and spoiled, and I get it, like, she was 11, blah blah blah, whatever. But like, in this one, I definitely can see more myself in her when I was a teenager. I think, like, I can definitely empathize and sympathize with a lot of her struggles in this movie a lot more than I could. And I don't think that's just because of the age gap. Like, I think there is something completely different about the writing that has allowed me to definitely relate to Riley a lot more. Speaking of relatability, I know some people probably thought it might be a bad thing, but I definitely think that Riley's new best friends being black and Asian are a good thing, and seeing that representation is good. It's ultimately meaningless in the grand scheme of like a society that is like racist, sexist, whatever. But I think people being able to see themselves or see little versions of themselves in the media they consume a lot, like, it gives people confidence, especially children. It's like, oh, that's like, that little black girl is like on screen or whatever. Maybe they grow up someday and become a voice actor, or like they get into animation, like, because they were able to see themselves in this thing that was very important and formative for them at a young age. Speaking of diversity, there's a queer girl in the movie. They don't explicitly say she's queer, but like, come on, look at her. I remember when they first introduced all the new emotions, like anxiety and stuff, I didn't really think anxiety was actually anxiety. Like, they came across as just like so hyper, and like, I know anxiety can manifest in various people in various different ways, but as someone who's had anxiety all their life, mine is never really manifested as like this burst of energy or whatever, or being hyper. In fact, embarrassment felt more like anxiety when I first saw them both, because embarrassment is more like, oh, I'm not sure people want to be around me, oh, is like, am I doing everything correctly, etc, etc. Because a lot of like being embarrassed is just being anxious that like you aren't allowed in a space, or you can't take up space somewhere, where you're allowed to be wherever you want to be, you know what I mean, because you are human, you're allowed to exist. So a lot of like just being embarrassed about something is just thinking, oh, people around me have an opinion formed about me and I can't control that. But you can't control that, so you just kind of have to, you know, be yourself as much as you possibly can be. Anyway, I think anxiety being the villain of the movie was a good choice now that I think about it after the fact. But also overall, Riley's issues with her sense of self and trying to be someone she isn't. And while I can't necessarily relate to not having a strong sense of self, because for better or for worse, I've always had a very, very strong sense of, this is who I am, I'm not going to be any different, I'm not necessarily going to change myself for people, etc, etc. This is just who I am, and I'm fine with that. You either like me or you don't. Life goes on. I think it being a major plot dynamic is very relatable in a lot of ways to like just being human. You know what I mean? Like I feel like everyone can relate to, even if like you're not a teenager, a lot of people can relate to not necessarily feeling like they have a sense of who they are because they never sat down with themselves and thought, who am I outside of like, you know, the things I consume or like the people I am around? And I think more people should, because I've definitely met full grown adults, like people who are older than I am, who didn't really understand who they were, who they want to be, and like the kind of person they want to reflect onto the world and be recognized as. Because I've never been the kind of person to leave my friends like Riley did in the movie, like, which is no fault on Riley. She's young, she's gonna figure it out, but I've never been that kind of person. But I've definitely met like still full grown adults who are those kinds of people still. At least Riley has the excuse of being a teenager, you know? Another thing I really enjoy is that the characters feel a lot more fleshed out compared to the original. Joy especially, where before I couldn't stand her Insta influencer vibe, she feels a lot more developed. Like at one point in the movie, she's even like, bro, I have no idea what I'm doing at any point in time. It's exhausting being happy and optimistic despite failing. And I agree with that sentiment. That's a very relatable and pivotal moment in her character development. This is the Joy I wish I saw in the original movie. If she was more like this in the original movie, where she recognizes that like, hey, I'm just trying my best and not this sort of like fanatic who just wants Riley to be happy all the time, I would have definitely enjoyed the original movie way more. Oh, a scene I really just like loved was the scene in the movie where Joy is fighting against anxiety while Riley is trying to sleep. Anxiety is sending like all the anxious, you know, awful examples of things that can happen to her tomorrow at the like hockey thing. Anxiety is sending all of those while Riley's trying to sleep, and she's just having like this anxiety about everything happening, and Joy is fighting back by sending her images of good things, like the possibility of good things that can happen. And this scene felt so cathartic for me for a lot of reasons, but like most importantly because they are a reminder that my most anxious and awful thoughts about my life, YouTube and wanting to be a content creator, those most deep, dark, insecure thoughts are just my imagination. And becoming big and growing and becoming better is just as likely as my negative thoughts. So why not believe in myself if either way I am going off of my imagination anyway, if that makes sense. And it's a genuine nice feeling to not be too old to learn something from a movie whose intended audience is a lot younger than you are. You know, you're never too old to take something and like implement it in your life. And I think that's the hallmark for me personally of a good movie. A good movie changes your perspective or like makes you feel something on a deep level. And that's good personally. Not all movies have to do that, of course, but like I think, you know, a good movie has to do that for me at least. Otherwise it's just kind of a fun movie. Another scene I really liked a lot was, well, two scenes I think, are when Riley's anxiety gets to the point where she just feels, oh, I'm not good enough. Like it reaches this sort of critical mass. And also the scene where Joy feels defeated and she's like, maybe growing up is realizing that you just experience less joy. And both of those scenes just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks because like I often feel, one, not good enough as I just explained, but also like it's harder to experience like genuine joy. Like I feel like a lot of people just kind of like lie to themselves and say that they're happy, but are you like genuinely happy? And I'm not trying to like question anyone's happiness or like life motivations or whatever, but I feel like society's just kind of set up where like everyone's just kind of gritting their teeth, biting the bullet and trying to find some sort of happiness and saying, yeah, I'm happy, you know what I mean? Like let's smoke weed every day or drink or like let's do something to just numb ourselves just enough so like we think we are happy. And it's not that everyone's just addicted to something, but it just feels like everyone's just kind of going, sure, I'm happy, you know, well, as happy as I can be under the circumstances upon which we all exist and have to exist. You know what I mean? Like society sucks, life sucks, and we've all just kind of accepted that it all sucks, but like I'll try to be happy. And I've never been good at that. Like I've never been good at like pretending to be happy or like biting the bullet even though something sucks around me. If I'm unhappy with something, I'm not good at biting the bullet. Anyway, before I like go on like a massive tangent about my own personal life, those scenes are really good, honestly. Like there's a lot of very emotionally charged, impactful scenes in the movie, especially at the end of the movie when Joy realizes she was just like anxiety and trying to mold Riley the entire movie. As Riley is having this massive panic attack, and just as all the memories Joy and the other 5 emotions tried to get rid of flow back into the sort of memory well, they begin to flourish into something human, and all of the emotions embrace this new belief. This new belief showing that Riley is in fact human. Every single person has doubts, is hypocritical, and the like, but we are also good. To be a person is to be imperfect. Sometimes we are selfish or mean, but we can also be kind and gentle. We are not our worst qualities, but nor are we perfect. And that's good. That's what makes humanity and people good, but also capable of growth and change and to be better. Oh, I will say, I don't really understand why Riley's friends had to go to a different high school. Like, are they sisters or something? I didn't really catch it. Like, they were assigned a different school. I don't understand how that really works. At the end of the movie, the emotions all work together and anxiety is freaking out about possibilities, and Joey goes, we can't control any of that, and asks anxiety, what can we control? And I like that a lot, because ask yourself what is within your control to actually change something or help us feel better or anything like that is a good habit to have, but reminds me of something I'm trying to practice in my personal life called like radical acceptance, where you just kind of like accept the things that you can't really necessarily do anything about and work on the things that you actually can, you know? Like, for example, accepting, oh, I feel so ugly I can't find a partner or something like that. Okay, well, you can't really control that. So instead of like making yourself suffer and be in pain and wallowing in the fact that you can't find a partner, how about you focus and fixate, not necessarily fixate, but like work on something that is within your control, like, you know, working out, or what gives your life value to fill the void that you feel by not having a partner. Like, fill it with something else that is within your control and you can find gratification from, which is like the sort of essence of radical acceptance. And I think that's a good thing, you know what I mean? Like, focus on the things that are within your sphere of control, but that doesn't mean you should give up on like wanting that thing necessarily, or like accepting it'll never happen, I should say. It's more about accepting you don't have it right now, but that's okay. Focus on what you can. It doesn't mean things will be bad forever. Just work within your sphere of control. Inside Out does exactly what a sequel should do. Take everything good from the first movie, improve upon, and throw away what's bad. And while the ending isn't anything necessarily revolutionary, it's satisfying, and for its genre of movie, it's pretty good. Pixar has more or less perfected the hero's journey, to the point it's like high-end fast food. You know what to expect, there's a level of quality to it that gives it a consistency you can rely on, and when you're in the mood for it, it really hits the spot. I generally like this way more than the first movie. Joy was more pleasant and well-rounded and didn't feel empty. The original 4 emotions had enough screen time and lines to have actual depth and not just be background supporting characters for Joy, and the new emotions were well thought out and genuinely fun characters. I literally love all the new emotions, and even Joy has grown on me in this second movie. I kind of went to the movie hoping that they would bring back Bing Bong, but I have made my peace with that. This movie deserves all the praise and popularity it's getting. Inside Out isn't in like my top 5 now, but for the category of movie it is in, it is definitely up there with one of the best animated movies for the genre it's in. If you want to watch a good chill movie that will make you feel good, go see this movie.